Yep, still feeling gross. Hey everybody, how's it going? So we're back in Shorehaven building our Victorian style pier, which is by now basically a complete rip-off of Brighton Palace Pier. I mean, let's be honest, it's a borderline recreation by this point. So the grand entrance area was the main focus of last week's episode, and now it's time for us to expand our pier into the building that would have once been an old ballroom or a theatre. I mean, take that, Brighton. Ours was a ballroom. Yours was just a winter garden, and it's been an arcade since 1910 anyway. Pfft. Come for the piece count, stay for the bants. Let's go. Alright then, you guys, if we are going to be truly accurate, we should probably go ahead and talk about the history of Shorehaven Pier some more. And I mean, how handy is it that just so happens to be one out there in real life that just shares the same story as us? It's rather convenient, don't you think? So as you can see, the main pavilion of Brighton Palace Pier is one of the most recognisable parts of the pier. You can see that in the pictures I took from Brighton. It's such a truly beautiful building. Victorian architecture just has this ability to use wood to create these beautiful, intricate little repeating patterns that are just so simple but so elegant. And it's something that we're going to go for in Shorehaven too. Now, the pavilion will sit roughly around a third of the way down the pier. And it today contains this massive arcade. Guess what ours is going to have? So yeah, here's the entrance, and this is what we did in the last episode. But if we take a walk all along this way, you can see that you will not be surprised to see that we're ripping off Brighton some more. I've started to place down where our pavilion is going to be. It shares pretty much the same shape. The difference is it doesn't have the angular textures and stuff that we've got going on in real life. It's purely because Planko likes you to do 90-degree angles rather than 45 degrees. So it's kind of what I'm going for in this one. But you can see that the front textures and the front entrance is looking very similar. So what I've started to do here is I've just started to kit out some of those fine details. So if you have a look at the pictures from Brighton, you can see that there's this paneling that sits on the front. Now ultimately these pillars or these towers, they're a lot thinner in real life than they are in Planet Coaster, but we're dealing with 4 meters, so I've just sort of made my own thing up. And what I've done is I've used the Romanesque stuff in the normal packs, and they come with all of these squares and whatever, but then it just became too intense with all of the squares because they were originally 3 rows, and then it was these cornices, and then there were 3 rows again. So what I've done is I've actually used hydro beams in here just to accentuate some of the more different squares and coloured them white. So now you've just got these different but repeating textures, these repeating patterns. By the way, can we just take a moment to appreciate Hydro? Hydro has single-handedly kept this game alive with all of the Theme Makers Toolkit stuff that's been put out there. And I mean, without Hydro stuff, none of this could even happen. Like, let's be honest here, right? So we're just going to take a moment just to appreciate Hydro for that one. And then coming around the side here, I've just put out all of these panels and stuff. So again, this is the sort of feature and everything that happens in Brighton along the side. That bird has just flown through the wall. Great hitbox, well done. Yeah, so they've got these beautiful repeating textures all along the side. It's just paneling. Everything's white. Everything is... And it doesn't look stupid, right? So it looks absolutely perfect. But in Planet Coaster, everything being white looks stupid. So what I've done in here is I've started to use some different colours. So I started to bring the blues in that we were starting to use at the front entrance. Then inside, I'll start to use some slightly different colours and whatever. But I wanted the idea of panels, and I wanted something to be very similar. And, you know, if we're putting a Chacho spin on something that already exists in real life, I think this is a pretty good example. Then underneath here, this is another like a rest area, and this is another homage to something. And I just need to move this. I've just noticed that this is not right, but I'm using some of the vintage stuff. I don't often get to use the vintage stuff here, so I'm starting to use that as the wallpaper and whatever, and it's just this beautiful paneling. And if you imagine this is now going to be repeating all along this way and then out into the dome and out that way, it's going to look awesome. And then on the front here, this is exactly what I've done. So we have this bit at the top that I've designed. It's supposed to be roller coasters and whatever, but actually it turns out it's pretty much the same as Brighton's. But it's this intricate detail work that you've got going on from the Victorian times, you know, the wood intricacies that you've got here. I didn't want to make this a grid because this is already massive in piece count. It's already about 17,000 pieces. I don't even know what I've used 17,000 pieces on, but It's ridiculous. So I've tried to keep this to a bit of a minimum. And then I've just used this cogs. This is actually a TMTK cog. I think it's part of a steampunk pack, but it just looks brilliant. So in Brighton, this is a window, but here it's not. So at least we're doing something different, right? So yeah, then you've just got the Roman cornice just creating a bit of a pillar going on here as well. And then just to bring you around this way, so we are going to have, and I have no idea how I'm going to do it, tomorrow me's problem. We're going to have a massive dome that's going to stem out from the roof. So this is me just planning where that dome is going to be, and of course it's going to follow the patterns and the paneling and stuff as well. But what that means is that the pier itself has to have been extended out, which, by the way, I said in the last episode I didn't know whether I needed to extend this. Yes, I have needed to extend it, so that's exactly what I've done, is extended out. And then because we've got the dome, what I've done is I've copied Brighton, surprise, surprise. Guys, can we just not point it out anymore? Can we just accept that we're basically doing a recreation of Brighton? So what I've done here is I bought the wood out at an angle, and I've done this here as well at an angle. And then as part of my recce, I did some research on how this actually works. So these are the images, by the way, that I've taken. And as you can see, it just has iron girders that stick out. And they're like the support bracing for the extra bits. You don't need to bring your main struts, your main pillars, your main support out. You can just have them coming out. Because all you're doing on this bit, by the way, is you're just supporting people. You're not supporting hardware. You're not supporting rides or shops or any kind of weight. You're just supporting people. So it's absolutely fine to have this sticking out. And because it's actually in triangles, it's relatively stable and relatively strong anyway. So we are all good to go there. I just wanted to draw out, by the way, that I wanted an elevation change. Again, you won't be surprised to know that Brighton does this. But I wanted the elevation change. And that's purely because if you're dealing with this idea of the pier and the bracings and everything underneath, you want to raise your building up so that you can actually focus your points, that you want your weight of your building to go down onto the supports. So if you put the entire building onto your supports down here, and then you are going to overload certain parts of your supports. Whereas if you raise it up slightly and have it as like a floating floor, you can choose where exactly your building makes contact with your pillars, and you've got a better chance then of having some stability going on with your building. So yeah, this is what it looks like from the top. I wanted to bring the pier back down, or the elevation back down in the building, so that it enters higher than it exits this side, or you enter lower than you exit on the other side, whichever you want to say. So yeah, that's what I'm doing here. And then this bit's going to have a stained glass roof to it, a pointed pitched roof to it. This is going to be the dome, and I think this is going to be. I think I'm just going to use Brighton as the example and just have an archway. I don't quite know how that's going to go yet. I need to play that out. So this is how it's looking from this side at the moment, and it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty much as I wanted it. So I'll see you in a minute. I'll have a bit of an update for you. So this feels like one of those clickbait personality tests that you find on the trash websites. You know, the ones that I mean. What did you see first? Because this is going to tell me quite a lot about you. Did you see the mess that I've made in the front here? Did you see half a dome or a completed dome? Did you see the arcade flashing in the middle, or did you see all of the architecture on the outside first? Let me know in the comments below. I'd be interested to see what you saw first. So I've got lots to show you in this one. There's lots of mess and not much completed, but I wanted to sort of take the opportunity to show you how I've pulled some of it together. That's why I've left the dumping ground here, and that's why you're seeing half a dome. We're going to talk through how I've done this, but look at how this is coming together. This is just perfect. It's just exactly as I wanted it to. And yeah, we're ripping off Brighton. This is happening. So I'm going to show you the paneling on the side first, because this is what I was going for. This was the exact feeling. Now remember that Brighton has got windows along here, and I'm just using decorations and stuff, but this is the exact feel and exactly what I wanted from it. And again, it's taken from Brighton, so it feels exactly as it should. But there's going to be benches and stuff that are going to sit along here to allow you to look out to sea and stuff. But it's this intricate architecture. Needs a little bit touching up. There's some bits that are missing where it's not copied across properly and whatever. But it's going to be fine. It's going to look awesome. And then it comes into this transition into the side of the dome, where it now maps out to where the pathway and stuff has gone. And then this side, it's the same as the other side, but now you've just got these like little cubby holes, and these are actually sheds. They're like storage areas and stuff that have been put in. The reality is, in real life, these are actually offices and stuff like that. You know, like inside here, there's all sorts of storage space and whatever going on. But outside here, I'm just keeping it like. It breaks up the architecture. That it's a design choice that I've made here. So, and I'll talk through what this is going to be later on in the update, because I need to do some detailing and stuff. And then the actual dome itself. I mean, it took so long to do. So much for only spending 12 hours a week on an episode, because this dome took 14 as it is. But it's fun. I don't mind, because it's turned out all right. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But is it as good as you're going to get? I think so. It took quite a few attempts to get it done. Then on the front here, this has turned out exactly as I wanted it. This just looks so good. I've changed my mind about the doors. I've ended up taking the doors out. I'm going to use the TMTK doors I've used in all of the shops and all of the other parks. I've decided not to use the archway doors just because it's just too difficult to do. So I've just got some touching up and stuff to do on the front here just to give some decoration. But if we now head inside, we have this arcade, and I can't wait to show you this when it's done, because this is going to look so much better than it does now. I mean, it looks a bit janky and a bit messy, right? But this is pretty much how it looks inside Brighton. So I'll stick a picture of that here if I remember. Editor me, please remember. Please go back and do that. But this is what Brighton looks like from the inside. And so this is the inspiration that we're taking. Now, these game stalls, I can't take credit for creating these. You would have seen these before, right? So I have borrowed quite a lot from Coaster Monkey Studios when he did Sunburn games in Fundy Fun Spot, and also Lee when Lucky Coin, I think it was called, again in Fundy Fun Spot. So I can't take any credit for these game stalls. So guys, Coaster Monkey Studios and Lee, thank you so much for these in the past. I'm reusing them because they are perfect for what we need in this space. Absolutely spot on perfect. So what I'm going for in here is this grand ballroom. So let's talk about that for a minute. So Brighton Palace Pier used to be a winter garden. So inside here would be all sorts of vegetation and whatever, and then in the winter you'd be able to go along the pier, go into a summer-like garden, and be done with it. But our story is that this used to be a ballroom, and a very grand ballroom. So what we've got here, this would be like the eating area. This would be where you'd go in and have like food and whatever, blah 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 blah. Let's change the camera because we don't want to go through. And then we enter into the grand ballroom. So this is inside the dome. I don't really want to do much more decorating. Oh, I need to change the position of that. That's going to annoy me now. It's not center. That tells you a lot about my personality. So I don't want to do much more decorating than this inside. I mean, I could waste thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces on kitting out bits of wood and whatever, but I think this is just sufficient enough. It does what it needs to do, and I'm okay with that, because the inside of the dome is where it matters. And so we've got all of this paneling that I've put down the wall. So again, this is very much inspired by Brighton's. It's a bit more colourful than Brighton's, and it's got a bit more intricacies than Brighton's, but it's also not as, I call it beamy. There's lots of beams and there's lots of pillars and stuff in Brighton's. So I've taken some design decisions to not include some of that stuff, partly because it's too difficult to do in game, and partly because there's just better things to spend the piece count on. He says, wasting piece count on squares to do this. It's fine. Don't look where I'm pointing. So anyway, I need to do a ticket office, or a prize ticket office in here, and I still don't really know what I'm going to do about this edging. I've snookered myself with design here a little bit because it goes round, and I don't really know what I'm going to do. So watch this space on that. But it is what it is, right? So yeah, this is the grand ballroom. So this is where you would have all of the dances. You wouldn't have disco lights. You wouldn't have all of those fancy stuff. So you wouldn't need trellising and whatever in here. It would just literally be the ballroom. There would be a stage in here at some point, and just a big dancing area, a big open area for dancing. But yes, the idea is it's supposed to be a very, very grand space. And then behind here, you would have had some kind of bar area, seating area, etc., etc., which would be this bit here. So it's like the polar opposite of where the seating and stuff would be for the restaurant or for the food. And then down here, this would have all been the service quarters. So this would have been where the kitchen is. This would have been some other like utility pieces, storage and that sort of stuff. But it's actually been kitted out as part of this as part of this building. So do you remember I said at the very beginning I wanted to have the stained glass window? So there it is. There's my stained glass window. This is going to be a flat roof. This is going to be flat roof. And then the flat roof is going to come down underneath here as well. So it's going to all make sense. And I just need to find something to put on the front here. So just continuing on the idea of the outside panelling. These are all office spaces, and they are as such in Brighton as well. I'm not going to be kitting out the offices. I would love to have been able to do it, and I've left space to do it if I wanted to, but I'm just not inclined to do that. I don't think you guys care either. Let me know in the comments. Actually, no, don't let me know in the comments, because you're going to tell me to do it. I just know you lot. You're just going to do that. So anyway, yeah. This is what I'm going for here. It looks out to sea, so it's a really nice little office space. Maybe back when there was a ballroom, it could have been hotel rooms. It could have been a smoking room. It could have been whatever, looking out to sea. Some kind of grand room that was looking out. These along here, by the way, these are the Moorish kebabs lamps, and they are just perfect for sitting on the top, and it would kind of give passing ships the clue that there's a pier here, because you wouldn't have had the modern red flashing lights and stuff on the piers back in the 1900s. You would have actually just put lights on the pier, and that would have told ships that there's a pier here. Now that doesn't stop collisions, unfortunately. There are many stories of ships colliding with piers, but it is what it is, right? It just so happens that's what it is. And then I just want to talk about the flooring. So you've seen the flooring before in here. I am going to copy this all the way through. You've seen this in Fundy Fun Spot. It would be that they've put down this really tacky flooring, and that's exactly what Brighton Pier have done, and we're okay with that because it looks pretty decent. Right, so let's talk about this graveyard. So a lot of you always ask me, how do I manage to build everything so quickly? And it's not necessarily about placing everything piece by piece. It's about working smarter and not harder. So what I've done here is I've created a palette of panels that I can then just copy across. They're all on the grid. So all I need to do is just grab it, edit the building, and paste it across. So that's how I was able to do all of this so quickly. And then the dome is the same principle as well. I'll show you that in a moment. So here's the tower. This is the pillar, or not? Sorry. Shall I start that again? This. Well done. Good commentary. So this is the tower. This is the panelling that's all along the side here. The dome I'll show you in a moment. This is the office space paneling, and then I've just got some variations of the internal panels here. So there's one with the pillar, there's just the pillar still on a grid, there's one that is off the grid with the paneling and the pillar. This is the outside. So you can see, like, I'm actually just copying and pasting a lot of stuff. The actual effort goes into designing the intricacies along here. So if I zoom in, you can see, like, here is everything that you could possibly need, right, in terms of the design. Then all you do is you just need to copy and paste it. And luckily for us, that's what Victorian architecture is. It's all repeating patterns, but very intricate in a panel. So it works quite nicely, and so it's about working efficiently. And I've used the same technique on the bracing on the stuff underneath the pier as well. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And then the dome itself, this is, I'm actually going to go into menu mode so you can see it. So again, it's exactly the same principle. This for the main dome is done in 2 stages, and I'll show you that in a moment. But it's just basically taking one section and creating the one section as you do, and then all you then need to do is copy it with your angle snap on, and then you can move it around, and eventually you copy it around and you create the dome. There is a slight nuance here because we've got an inside part, so that would work if you're doing a full complete dome. So what we've actually got is a second version like that, which doesn't contain the lower walls but does have the paneling on the inside and does have the pillar here. And then so what I've got is, if I move this one and this one like so, there we go. So you can now see that I've got two versions of the dome, and then all I do is I just fill in the gaps with the full panels on the outside and then the half panels on the inside. So that's how it is looking from the top. I mean, it's looking awesome on the sight line. It's looking so good, especially when this bit's going to be finished and the roof is going to be on and it's going to be lights and signs and all sorts. I can't wait. I just need to get it done. So I'll see you in a minute. Alright then, guys, for now we are done. I've got a little bit of touching up to do later on down the line, but that's tomorrow me's problem. Whatever. But I did just want to show you this. This is my new favourite view of the pier. It's 7 o'clock in the morning and it's just so photogenic. It's amazing. I might actually send this across to Fuzzy to do the thumbnail. Thank you, Fuzzy. I love you. You do a far better job at thumbnails than I could ever do. So yeah, it's just so photogenic, and I absolutely love this. I am going to do a full-on nighttime tour for you shortly. Let me just put this back into daytime so I can show you around properly. There we go. So this is how it looks from the front, and I love how this has turned out. Like, I like how the cogs in the background change with the field of view. It just gives a bit of depth to the view itself. And the Victorian architecture that we've got going on here is exactly as I thought it was going to turn out. I mean, to be honest with you, it's exactly like Brighton. We've said this right from the beginning. Nobody should be surprised about this, right? But it's different enough to have the Chacho spin. So I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. The sign on the top is just, again, it's inspired by Brighton, but it just makes it absolutely perfect. The towers either side, the stuff out the front, it just looks like it should do. So I've called it the playroom. So it's a play on words for the ballroom. I couldn't think of a pun. Sorry, guys. I'm like slacking with the puns in this in this series. If you can think of a pun, pop it in the comments, because I'd love to know. But keep it clean, because there's some obvious double entendres that you can make, right? So down the side here, I'll just put in all of the bins and the benches and the lampposts and stuff just to finish this off. You would keep this area relatively clear. And because this is a listed building, I'll talk about that when we talk about the ballroom inside, because there's something that's a little bit pertinent to the inside that I need to tell you. But because this is a listed building, you wouldn't find signs and stuff hanging off it. You would actually need to keep it as it is. So you'd keep this clear. And actually, I quite like it. Sometimes less is more, right? And it just turns out absolutely perfectly. So I've obviously fixed all of the railings and stuff along here, so that's all done. Also, up here, I've just put some clutter. So I promise this is going to be the last insert photo moment here. But Brighton Pier also has this as well, this idea of just clutter everywhere. So these are the pictures I took anyway from the from the recce. It makes sense to have it there. And then if I just move down here, I've also done that out the side of the back here. So theoretically speaking, you probably would have picnic benches and stuff in this space to make absolute use of it. But they're not making use of it. They've decided just to clutter it out with a load of crap, and it's fine. It's fine, it's done. And then from the back end here, what you tend to find is the back end doesn't have as much detail to it as the front end would, because this is obviously the exit. And by the time you're heading back down towards the entrance, you're done on the pier anyway, so you're not trying to draw people into the arcade. So this just ends up as a back exit anyway. And then down the other side, it's very similar. There's no clutter down this side. This is a side that they would keep clear, because maybe this would be the one that's got the better view out to sea, right? So ignore the trees, it's fine. But it would be the better view out to sea, so this would be the one that they'd make the most effort with, right? So this is all along the side here. So if I take you to the front of the pier, there we go, back to the entrance. It sits so beautifully on the sight line. It's just like the perfect scale to the entrance itself. I know we're dealing with Planet Coaster scale, so things are probably a bit too wide, but it's fine. It fits absolutely perfectly on the actual sightline itself. So let's go inside, shall we? Because there's lots of work that's been done in here, and this is where we need to talk about listed buildings and stuff. So sorry, guys, this is going to be another one of those British updates. But just before I do, I wanted to point out the flooring. You've seen me do this flooring before. It's an image that I've taken off of Google of a typical arcade floor, and you just put it into a billboard, and then you place the billboard on the floor, and then it's because it's a repeating pattern, a repeating texture, you can just then place the billboards next to each other and it creates the floor. So this is no kind of trickery, it is literally billboards. So in here, we've already talked about this in the previous update, but this would just be an absolute mess of machines, like arcade machines. Now, you wouldn't find massive signs. So when you are dealing with listed buildings in the UK, there's different grades of listing that you can have, and it ultimately means that you can't do certain things to the building. This kind of ballroom or this kind of structure would actually be the highest listing. So it means you can't change anything on the inside, and you have to maintain it as it is, which means you can't put massive signs up, you can't put lights up, you can't put garish stuff in here. You can do whatever you want to the middle, to the inside, but you just can't change the structure. So that's why we've got these weird fairy lights going along here, right? And this structure here probably wouldn't have been part of the ballroom. It would have been put in as part decoration. So that's why your signs and stuff are hanging off of here. They'd be put up with stuff like zip ties or string or rope or something. They wouldn't actually be attached to anything. So So that's why you're not seeing lots of garish lights and colours and like advert signs and whatever, because you just wouldn't. And have a look at Brighton. Brighton, it's exactly the same. The ballroom itself then, big, lovely, wide open space. Got ticket exchange, which I'll show you in a second. But I just wanted to point out that because of this view and because of wanting to show you all of the inside, I actually binned off the idea of there being a second level and having an indoor play area. That's deliberate, because I wanted you to be able to see the view. By the way, I did fix where the light was. That was the first thing I did after the update, because it was bugging me. So yeah, that's the idea of the ballroom anyway. The ticket exchange, this is where you'd come and exchange your tickets. The clue's kind of in the title. But you win loads of tickets, you take them up and you exchange them for prizes. And they go up in different values, so the idea is there's an incentive to win as many tickets as you can. And it's something ridiculous, like 30,000 tickets can get you an Xbox. But you're going to need to spend far more money than just buying the bloody Xbox to start with. So anyway, it's fine. You had fun doing it. So yeah, this is just another room of machines. There's nothing particularly special about it. They just put as much as they possibly can. And remember that you're probably dealing with, maybe 100,000 visitors a day in the summer. So you're going to want to have as many machines as you can possibly muster and monetize it as much as humanly possible. You wouldn't necessarily have area music. You've just got the music that comes from the machines, so that's why it's a mess of sound that you can hear in the background. This is just perfect. And I can't wait for the end of the pier to be done, because the guests in the game are also going to walk through here as well. So, yeah, whoops, there we go. So that's how it's looking from the other side. It's just a room of machines, and I love it. But there is one place I did make a particular effort, and that's down in the bottom here. This is almost like the slightly regal area, because I wanted this to feel... Oh, God. I'd make an effort with the actual interior, not with the camera work. So, yeah, I wanted this area to feel slightly special. Oh, I'm locked to something. Hang on a sec. There we go. So I wanted this area to feel slightly special. It's slightly smaller, so I've put some carpet down, and of course you've got the pool tables. You've seen the pool tables from Fundy Fun Spot before, and then just other machines and stuff in this area. But I wanted this to feel a little bit grander, so that's why there's some paint on the walls. That's why there's this carpet down, and then you've got these light arches, and the light arches just finish it off absolutely perfectly. But the fairy strip lighting has come through in here as well, so it's consistent throughout the entire building. But yeah, this is pretty much Brighton as well, to be honest with you. But then you've also got this stained glass window as well, so this is like the crowning glory of this area. This would probably have been a normal roof back in the days when it was a service building. And they've put this stained glass building in because, you know, you get some beautiful views of the sky, you can look out at sea, etc, etc. So, yeah, I just wanted to make this have a little bit more effort and a bit more grandeur going on. But again, same principle with not putting stuff on the walls, not hanging stuff from ceilings, etc. You just can't. You physically can't by law. So, that's what we're running for here. So I know that arcades, you know, especially like the ones that Coaster Monkey Studios did for me, very, very lovely, beautiful build, but you just wouldn't see that in this kind of setting. So this is the back end. So we've obviously already seen this, but just wanted to emphasize that this would be some kind of smoking room or library, or some kind of lookout point to the rest of the ocean, to out to sea. Right, let's show you at night then, because this is when the pier properly comes to life. Look, so subtle lighting going on here. So, you know, like unlike all of the other builds I've done where it's been really garish lighting, and it's been really in your face. Think of Fundy Fun Spot, where it's like the lighting is the pièce de la résistance of the entire build. This is really subtle. So you've got all of the lights that are all accenting all of the beams and all of the exposed wood and stuff all along here. But then you've got the Shorehaven Pier sign at the front here, and inside here then you've just got all of your lights that are coming from the games machines and whatever. That's your main source of light, and then you would also just have some accent lighting going on at the top, so just like flood lighting and whatever, just to stop it from being too dark. But obviously if you don't want it too light in these accent lights, because then you lose the purpose of the fairy lights and the strip lights. So you've got to be kind of careful with your lighting in here. And then you walk through into the ballroom area, and it's exactly the same. That's such a mess of sound. I hate it. So yeah, you walk in here, and it's just, again, lots of lights coming from the machines and the ticket exchange. And then you've just got the accent lighting going on in the top end here. So some flood lighting just to give the area a bit of light, just to sort of stop it from being completely dark and give it a bit of colour and a bit of texture. And then we head out to the back end down here. And then you've got your light arches. So this would be slightly darker because your light arches are doing the lighting for you. You're not actually going to have... Oh, it's gone really quiet. Have I gone deaf? I think the music just stops because it's on a loop. Yeah, so in here, your light arches are doing the lighting in here. So you wouldn't necessarily have... the music's struggling, so it's really distracting. Let me try that again. Third time lucky. Your light arches are doing the lighting in this area, so you wouldn't necessarily have flood lighting and stuff in here. And then you've also got the games machines and whatever. This is where you'd put your more intense game machines, you know, like the racing games and stuff. The ones where you really need to draw in and concentrate. So, guys, that music is really distracting. I'm just going to move. And then out the back here, this is how it looks at night from the back. And I love how these light up at night. It's just so good. And then if we have a look offshore, so from the actual shore itself, so that's what you're seeing. I wish these letters were bigger so that we could go, hey, this is Shorehaven Pier from a distance. And please forgive the fact that the lights are all at the bottom. I can't do anything about it. We don't have optical occlusion or whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, it's going to go through the floor regardless. There's nothing I can do. It's what it is. But then this is how it looks from the front at night. Love it. It's just so good. Right, guys, that brings us quite nicely to the end of the episode. So let me just show you this view one more time. There we go. Thank you for getting to the end. I really do appreciate it. Only 30% if you get this far, so if you are one of those 30%, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Leave a like, leave a comment. As you know, it helps us build the channel. Next week, I think we're probably going to go down this end. I need your help, though. I need your advice. So the 30% of you get to decide this. Do we continue this in slightly longer and have some kind of a restaurant in the middle, or do we just get on with rides? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. I'm open to either. I've got ideas for whatever. So yeah, thank you guys. I will see you next time. Until we speak again, please look after yourselves. Take care. Bye-bye.